Well, we are paying close attention to what's going on in the tropics right now. It's been a pretty quiet hurricane year so far, but that could all change. And the NOAA says that could actually be a trend for the rest of the year. In fact, NOAA's Climate Prediction Center says there's a 50% chance that it'll be a near normal or below normal season with 8 to 13 named storms, 3 to 6 which could develop into hurricanes, and 1 or 2 of those could actually be a major hurricane. Well, you know, these are numbers that we really pay close attention to here on Delmarva. You remember Superstorm Sandy. Sandy was the largest hurricane in square miles on record, the second costliest hurricane in United States history, only behind Katrina. As of March 2014, damage estimates from Hurricane Sandy have been over $68 billion, and the storm killed at least 286 people along its path in 7 countries. According to the International Hurricane Protection Association, you need to have some kind of protection. Here's the deal. If hurricane force winds get inside your house, your roof is not designed to withstand those forces. So you've got to have something. A lot of people go straight to plywood, but guess what? NOAA says that should be your last resort. If necessity is the mother of invention, consider the damage left in the wake of Hurricane Ike.
It's just a war zone. I mean, it's devastation in every way you can think of.
Devastation that couldn't have been prevented with all the plywood in the world. But what if there was an easier way to prepare for the storm?
I've been through 35 myself behind this product.
Lou Earhart created a hurricane fabric called Astroflex.
Category 5 storm, it'll stop an 8-foot 2x4 going at speeds of 150 miles an hour.
Earhart says the entire system can be deployed in about an hour because hurricane fabric weighs about 5 ounces per square yard, whereas one piece of plywood can weigh 60 pounds.
Also the storage. We give you small bags. You can hang it in your garage. You can put it in your crawl space or in your attic. It's out of the way.
This whole house would run about $2,000, which is about a half of what your deductible could be. John Smith has another idea.
In about a minute per window, a homeowner can protect their house.
John Smith says Storm Stoppers is the answer for homes.
Safe, simple, and self-install.
And Smith says it's stronger than plywood. It's passed missile impact testing for winds up to 129 miles per hour, protecting windows from shattering in the height of a storm.
Hurricane Ike in 2008, Hurricane Sandy in 2012, Hurricane Wilma.
New customers say you don't damage your home when installing it, no screws or bolts necessary. And it can be removed after hurricane season. Smith says no product, even his, can guarantee that your home will be left standing after the storm. So the best advice is to do your research before you buy any product that promises to stop the storm. Lisa?
Well, Jimmy, now that we're ready to tackle the storms, let's talk about when Delmarva may actually see some of that rain and wind. WBOC's Chief Meteorologist Dan Satterfield joins us this afternoon. Hello,
Hi
Dan.
there.
So, okay, everyone's keeping a close eye on the tropics. What are you seeing?
Well, we have Tropical Storm Arthur out there. It's off the coast of Florida. I can tell you right now that it's very unlikely this thing is going to make a direct hit on Delmarva. So there's some good news
Yeah.
there. But it is going to influence our weather, and it's going to do it on the 4th of July.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of people have plans this weekend.
Exactly right. Well, let me show you a satellite image of just where this thing is right now. And it was upgraded this afternoon from a tropical depression to the season's first tropical storm. It is looking healthier. And I'll tell you, the latest track models indicate this thing is probably going to get close to hurricane strength in about 72 hours, just as it passes to the east of Delmarva. Now, it's, again, not likely to influence us any more than some good winds and surf and some rain Thursday night into Friday. We were going to get rain anyhow Thursday as a cool front comes through, and that cool front is what's going to save us because that front will move in and that will whip the hurricane off to our east and out into the Atlantic. Let me show you the radar right now, and you can see, we'll zoom in a little bit and pop up the radar. We can actually see the circulation showing up on radar pretty clearly. Notice all the rain is on the south side of that thing. That means it's not really that healthy. If the rain starts to spread around on all quadrants, then that thing is really going to start to intensify. There's a little bit of wind shear going on. It's still unorganized. It's a bare tropical storm, but we'll keep an eye on it. So here's the latest track from the National Hurricane Center. I think this is spot on, by the way. It will become a hurricane as it gets close to the Carolinas. It's going to be very close to the Outer Banks. Then you can see It makes a move off to the northeast and races into the North Atlantic. Now, as it passes to our southeast and east, the winds will turn to the north here. That may set us up for some strong rip currents, and we'll probably have a fairly cloudy 4th of July with maybe some rain in the morning as it looks right now. Again, winds right now just above tropical storm force at 40 miles an hour.
Okay, so talking about rain, we need it, don't we?
Desperately need it. Salisbury Airport is down 9 inches for the year. It's not as bad in some other areas, but it's bad. And if we do not get rain this week, the farmers are going to be in big trouble. And I've talked to some people who are in the farming business, and they tell me it's really starting to get critical. It's got to rain. I think we will get rain as this cool front comes in Wednesday night and Thursday, and then some rain from the tropical system on the fringes. If we could get 2 or 3 inches of rain out of this week, that would really be great for the farmers. We may not get that much, but anything will help.
Okay, let's change gears a little bit and talk about something else that we've been looking at, a possibility of an El Nino.
El Nino is probably on the way for the fall and the winter. It's developing now.
What is it?
Well, basically, and we've got a map here to show you. If you look at a globe and look at the temperatures in the Pacific Ocean, look off South America there, right on the equator. You see that red there? That's above normal temperatures. This is this week, by the way. The temperatures out there are running much warmer than they normally do. Now, this is what happens when an El Nino develops. The cold water off South America suddenly warms. Most of the time, the Pacific Ocean is chilly on the east side and warm on the west. Every few years, though, the wind currents in the upper atmosphere and the lower atmosphere change, they weaken, and all that warm water slops off to the east. That's what's going on.
Okay.
So that's an El Nino. So why do we care about the water in the Pacific? Well, if you warm all that water in the Pacific, that changes the jet stream pattern. It changes the atmospheric wind flow, and that tends to really affect us more in the wintertime. Now, there are all kinds of El Ninos.
Yeah.
This one right now looks to be a weak to moderate El Nino. I was talking with an expert at a weather conference last week in Lake Tahoe, and he also thinks that this is, and he's an expert on this, he looks at it all the time, he really thinks more than likely a weak to moderate El Nino. And I have another graphic I want to show you. Pop this one up. This is what happens with an El Nino. If you notice and look closely there across the South Gulf Coast, you see wet and cool, and then very warm in Alaska in the northwest, and then you also see other areas around the country. You're going to see this all over the place as this El Nino develops, and what I want you to remember is that it's wrong.
It's wrong.
It's wrong, because that's the average for a bunch of El Ninos. Weak El Ninos, moderate El Ninos here on Delmarva tend not to change our weather that much. But every El Nino is different. If it turns into a strong El Nino, then we can probably say we're going to have a wetter than normal winter here on Delmarva. Will that mean snowier winter? It's impossible to say. Every El Nino is different, but more than likely our effects are going to be small. There is one area that I can say for sure with an El Nino that you can expect something. If you live in Ohio and Indiana, it's going to be a drier than normal winter.
Really?
Yeah, almost every El Nino, even a weak one, tends to give them drier weather. And right on the Gulf Coast, Pensacola, Mobile, they're going to have a wetter than normal winter. But everywhere else, it just depends on the El Nino.
It depends on what kind of El Nino we have right now. They're just saying light to moderate.
Weak to moderate. Right now, the temperatures out there are running 1/2 Celsius, about 1 degree Fahrenheit above normal. If it were to get to 2 degrees above normal over that part of the Pacific we watch, that would be a fairly strong El Nino. We don't think that's going to happen, but we have a pretty poor track record at forecasting how strong El Ninos get, just kind of like we do on how many hurricanes we're going to get. So we'll have to watch it.
All right, Dan, thank you so much. As always, it's wonderful having you on
Sure.
the show, kind of breaking it all down for us as
Glad to do it.
especially as we head into this holiday weekend. Still ahead on Delmarva Life, whether it's wet or cold, dry, hot, whatever, the weather has such an impact on how we live our lives. Up next, we're taking a look at how it's impacting our food. You've probably noticed you're paying more for certain items. Find out if those prices are expected to improve anytime soon. And let's get this game started. Delmarva Life Sean Stryker is somewhere on Delmarva. We're trying to figure out where. Sean, we need a clue.
Yeah, Jimmy and Lisa, I'm gonna do my best to try to stump you, but I'm a nice guy, so I'll give you a few clues. First clue, this place and the state it's in were both the first to do something. Now coming up in a little, I'll have a few more clues for you. Delmarva Life, we'll be right back.